The jobs report that came out Friday was unexpected and disappointing. There is more uncertainty ahead for American businesses and consumers when it comes to President Trump's plans for imposing new tariffs on imports from some 70 countries, now expected this Thursday. On Friday, we spoke with Mr. Trump's trade representative, Ambassador Jamieson Greer, and we asked him whether he thought there was any chance those rates would be negotiated down in the coming days.
I don't think they will be in the coming days. I think a lot of these, well, I know a lot of these are set rates pursuant to deals. Some of these deals are announced, some are not. Others depend on the level of the trade deficit or surplus we may have with the country. So these tariff rates are pretty much set.
You said at some point the president's view is maybe a tariff is better than a deal. Are you saying there are countries that they have no shot of avoiding a tariff?
In most countries in the world, they just have a tariff assigned to them, right? Whether it's
it'll be the 10% or 15%.
10 or 15 or the higher level tariff. Because again, when the president is looking at this, he looks at potential deals, and we bring him potential concessions from countries and the things they might want to do. And he compares that to the potential tariff that might be applied to try to get that deficit down. And then talking to his advisors, he makes a call on this. And sometimes a country will come back and make additional concessions that make it more appropriate. He's trying to get at the deficit. He's trying to reshore manufacturing.
Trying to reshore manufacturing, bring manufacturing jobs back to America. But we just saw in this unemployment data that while the level's pretty low overall, it's pretty steady and good. Manufacturing in particular, we saw it contract for the 5th straight month in July. Factory employment dropped to lowest levels in 5 years. What does that data indicate to you about the impact of your tariffs?
I think a lot of companies were waiting to see if the tax bill was going to come through with the expensing for capital goods and things like that. And so I think now, a lot of that data comes pre One Big Beautiful Bill. Now that we have One Big Beautiful Bill and we have a better sense of where the taxes are going, I think we're going to see we're going to see more investment. All the commitments on investment we've seen countries making, that's going to come through. So I don't read tariff policy into that number. I think that is kind of pre-bill policy.
The president just announced that the head of labor statistics is being fired because of the weak jobs report, claiming the data was faked.
Even last year during the campaign, there were enormous swings in the jobs numbers. And so it sounds to me like the president has real concerns, not just based on today's, but everything we saw last year. You want to be able to have somewhat reliable numbers. There are always revisions, but sometimes you see these revisions go in really extreme ways. And it's, the president is the president. He can choose who works in the executive branch.
Let me ask you about Canada, which is our second largest trading partner. The president increased tariffs to 35%. It applies, though, to just about 10% of what Canada sells here. Why bother to do this now in the middle of negotiations?
So I would say, first of all, early on, the president imposed a 25% tariff on Canada, and that was really about fentanyl and border issues, right? It's a separate regime from the reciprocal tariff. And what did Canada do in response? They talked about helping at the border, and I'm not the drug czar or anything. But what I do know, as the trade guy, is that Canada retaliated. The only other country in the world who retaliated on tariffs was the Chinese. And so if the president's going to take an action and the Canadians retaliate, the United States needs to maintain the integrity of our action, the effectiveness, so we have to go up to.
You're talking about the things that the former Prime Minister Trudeau put in place, not the current Prime Minister.
And are still in place.
They're still in place, but
right.
The current Prime Minister has held off largely on retaliation here. That's the guy you're negotiating with and his team. So what's the strategy here? And aren't you worried that this will hurt the broader free trade deal if you truly do want to renegotiate it next year?
I'm not concerned that it's going to complicate things with Canada. Our view is the president is trying to fix the terms of trade with Canada. And if there's a way to a deal, we'll find it. And if it's not, we'll have the tariff levels that we have.
So I hear you drawing distinctions when you say, I'm the trade guy. I'm not the drug czar.
Correct.
I'm the trade guy. I'm not handling these other things. But the president is kind of blending all these things together because he cited fentanyl once again when it came to the policy with Canada. He also said on social media, Canada's decision to back statehood for Palestine is going to make it hard for us to make a trade deal. How does that have anything to do with financial and trade agreements?
The President of the United States has his foreign affairs power, where he can manage relations under the Constitution with foreign countries. Congress delegated to the President the ability to take economic action in response to national emergencies in the International Economic Emergency Powers Act. And for example, the Treasury Department, they have a number of sanctions where they can actually cut off a country's trade with the United States, prohibit goods, cut them off from our financial system for geopolitical reasons. So the fact that they can do that, almost certainly the president can do something that's not as expansive and just put a fee on those goods, which is a tariff.
So let me ask you about Brazil, because the U.S. has a trade surplus with Brazil. That means, we sell them more than we buy from them. So it doesn't seem to be consistent here when you have the president put 50% tariffs on Brazil, one of the highest of any countries. And at the same time, the president is bringing up things that have nothing to do with trade when he's justifying them. He sent a letter to the current government complaining about the prosecution of his ally, Bolsonaro, who allegedly staged a coup when he lost the last election. The president called it a witch hunt. This seems politically motivated and not about trade.
There's a 10% tariff on Brazil because we have a surplus with them. That's the reciprocal tariff. And then there's a 40% tariff that the president has chosen to do under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, like we would do any sanction where we see geopolitical issues. The president has seen in Brazil, like he's seen in other countries, a misuse of law, a misuse of democracy, what one might call lawfare. It is normal to use these tools for geopolitical issues. I mean, sanctions, we've been using them for years with all kinds of countries.
You view tariffs and sanctions as the same?
They're just different in degree. I mean, tariffs are actually lighter than a sanction. A sanction, you're cutting off a country from your financial system. You're prohibiting trade with them. A tariff, you're allowing trade. You're just putting a fee on it. It's a lesser step than sanctions.
You have moved far away from dealing with the deficit. Now you are talking about politically motivated trade actions here. I mean, the president sent a letter to President Lula saying the tariffs are due in part to Brazil's insidious attacks on free elections. Why are you trying to influence a criminal trial of an ally of President Trump?
The president of the United States historically, whether it's a Democrat or Republican, they have used IEEPA to impose sanctions for all kinds of geopolitical reasons in all kinds of countries. Sometimes it's countrywide, sometimes it's specific to certain individuals, and often foreign leaders and foreign officials. So this is not way outside the mark.
When it comes to trade, the big deal that is pending out there is how is the president going to deal with China? There's an August 12th deadline, and if that deadline is not met, you have said tariff levels could snap back to above 80%. Is that deadline going to slide?
So that's what's under discussion right now. I would say that our conversations with the Chinese have been very positive. We have discussions at the staff level, at my level. President Xi and President Trump have had conversations.
They said that it's sliding. The Chinese said it's sliding.
That's something we're working toward. That's what we talked about.
So you're not there yet.
And so they want to do that. We're working on some technical issues, and we're talking to the president about it. I think it's going in a positive direction. I'm not going to get ahead of the president, but I don't think anyone wants to see those tariffs snap back to 84%.
Did you get any commitments in those 2 days of talks in Stockholm?
So yes, we did. Yes, we talked about, and I won't go into detail because they're confidential conversations between two governments, but they really focused on rare earth magnets and minerals. China has put a global control on the world, and so for the United States, we're focused on making sure that the flow of magnets from China to the United States and the adjacent supply chain can flow as freely as it did before the control. And I'd say we're about halfway there.
You can find our full interview with Ambassador Greer on our website, facethenation.com, and our YouTube page.